There. And there we go.
Okay,
All right.
let's do this thing.
That's what she said?
Okay.
All right.
Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and then talk about it. Today we watched Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and it was good.
It was great.
Yes. I'm Steve. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Steve.
Hi, I'm Zach. I sleep over there.
Yes. Um. All right. So let's go through the story of this thing. We start off. We start off basically exactly where we left off in the Wrath of Khan, which
It,
is
it, it does the Back to the Future thing.
yeah,
Where we watch the last scene of the last movie first.
yeah,
Except instead of refilming the scene, they just take it and play it back to us because none of the characters changed from that scene, and they show it really small on the screen, and then it gradually expands out for
yeah.
some reason.
I think they did a little bit of refilming in the pan across the forest of the Genesis planet. But yeah, other than that, it was completely the same. And they get back to Earth, and basically Genesis is this huge controversy back on Earth now because it because of its destructive force, it could be used as a weapon and stuff. So
Right.
now the Federation has to decide what to do with it, and while they decide, Kirk and the crew are taken away from the Enterprise. Excuse me, and there's not going to be any refit of the Enterprise after this huge battle that it was in with Khan.
Well, the Enterprise is 20-ish years old. Ish.
31.
Whatever. Who's
But yeah,
counting?
yeah. So what was I going to say? So yeah, so they're not allowed to go back to the Enterprise. What they're going to do is just kind of in limbo. No one is allowed to go to the Genesis planet except for this small science team that includes David and Savick. And so they're just sitting there waiting for some kind of resolution. In the meantime, Bones is going crazy
Yep.
with part of Soul's, what is it, Katra? Did I say Soul?
Yep.
With part of Spock's Katra, which is his soul, in his brain. In his brain.
He's got a Vulcan in his head.
Yeah,
He's getting crowded in there.
yeah. And Bones is all like trying to get back to Vulcan for whatever reason. They don't know. And then Spock's dad comes to visit. I forgot his name.
Sarek?
Sarek, yes.
Wow, you were not with it tonight.
I don't know.
You're almost as bad
I
as
don't know what's
me.
wrong. Sarek comes to visit, and he talks to Kirk, and he's like, "How could you not have followed your best friend's last wishes? This is like inconceivable to him. I thought he would have told you to take his final non corporeal being to Vulcan, and you're here on Earth. What is wrong with you?" And Kirk is like, he never made such a request. I have no idea what you're talking about. So they mind meld, and Sarek finds out. Oh, so Spock is not in your head, and he's gone for good.
Sorry about that.
But then Kirk,
And Kirk's like, well, wait a second. Um, Bones was there too, and Bones has been acting weird. Let's go back. Let's review the tape.
yes, and then they literally review the tape.
They do.
Got my foot stuck here. They go back and they find in the footage from the Wrath of Khan that Spock took Bones aside and said, "Remember," and and then went into the
Remember who I am.
yes. So okay, so now they know where Spock's soul is. Now they have to go find Spock. They can't do that because they're not allowed Number one, they're not allowed back on the Enterprise. Number two, they're not allowed back to the Genesis planet. So, I mean, he takes the regular channels first. He asks his superior if he can take the Enterprise, and of course his superior says no, that's not going to happen. So now they're going to go and steal the Enterprise. Meanwhile, Bones has gotten himself into trouble at a bar, so they have to break him out of some kind of prison. After they break him out, they go find Uhura, who's at a transport station. Uhura locks up the transport technician, Mr. Adventure, in the closet, and they beam onto the Enterprise and start to leave. Meanwhile, Scotty has been on the Excelsior,
helping them get prepared
Yes.
because they're getting ready to have their maiden voyage.
Yeah.
And this bad boy, the Excelsior is the NX-2000. Its experimental design is the first to implement transwarp drive, which is basically, hey, let's go to this point in the map. Okay, boop, and we're there.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, Scotty has been there trying, quote unquote, to help, but he had actually, what do you call it, sabotaged.
Yeah.
Actually sabotaged the system. So when the Enterprise goes, the Excelsior goes to follow it and breaks down.
And just...
Yeah. So they're in the clear. They're on their way toward the Genesis planet. Meanwhile, on the Genesis planet, Saavik and David has beamed down, found Spock as a little child, like eight Earth years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to protect him, and they're about to beam him up, but along comes the Klingons.
And then here comes Doc Brown Klingon.
Yes, I keep forgetting his name too. It's like Kronk or something like that.
Yeah.
I've got it here.
The Incredible Kronk. Major Glory.
Oh, this is gonna bother me if I don't find it.
You'll find it.
Krudge.
Okay.
Kruge.
Kruge.
Something like that. Anyway,
Yes.
Kruge shows up, and one of his officers fires a shot at the science ship and accidentally blows it up.
Oops.
So Kruge shoots his technician because he screwed up, and then they find out that David and Saavik have actually already gone down to the planet. So, okay, he's still got some prisoners that he can take,
including David, who he was looking for.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
he's looking for the Genesis scientist.
Exactly. He's looking specifically for Genesis people.
Right.
And Genesis information. So he has a team beamed down to the planet. And now the Klingons have control of David, Saavik, and young Spock.
Mm-hmm.
While Krudge is back on the ship. Okay, so that's all set up. And now the Enterprise comes in and finds that the science ship has been destroyed. And nothing else apparently is around. But they see in the distance a little flicker of space. And they come to the conclusion that, okay, this is a cloaked ship. The only people we know with cloaked ships are Romulans and Klingons. So, let's go to Red Alert.
Hooray!
They go to Red Alert, they get into a little scuffle. And the Enterprise, which was already beaten down from the Wrath of Khan, kind of gives its last. And so they try to call a truce, but Krudge is like, hell no, I'm a Klingon. I'm not going to get into a truce with the Federation. So Kirk is like, all right, fine, we give up. You can board our ship. And so they turn on the self-destruct sequence.
Yep.
Now, the last time we saw the self-destruct sequence used was in May This Be Our Last Battlefield.
Yes.
And if you remember, if you watched along with us, you remember that a big part of it was the close-ups on their mouths as they said this, and one of the people who was giving the sequence was Scotty, and it when they closed up on Scotty's mouth, you could see a little bit of his mustache pulling through, and this time Scotty did it too, and you could see all of his mustache already grown there.
Yes.
Hooray! We have come full circle. So
That's all we wanted. We don't care really about the characters of the storyline or how this all develops. No, we just wanted that mustache.
exactly.
That's all we asked for. That's all we want.
So the Klingons are on board, and the crew has beamed down to the planet, and the Klingons are like, "There's no one here. We it seems to be running by computer because the computer's the only thing that's talking." And Crutch is like, "Put your communicator up to the computer so I can hear it." And it's like 5, 4, 3. And Crutch is like, "Get out of there!" And then kaboom!
Kaboom! The Enterprise blows up, and then we see our heroes standing up on a ledge down on the Genesis planet where they've beamed down, and you can see the Enterprise just flying down in flames in the distance.
Yep.
A sad day for all.
Yeah. So now Kirk has Crudge at a disadvantage. Crudge has Kirk at a disadvantage. The ship is gone. Crudge's crew is gone.
So right now everybody is in pretty shit shape.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
Including Spock, who has been going through Ponfar.
And like, it turns out that Spock is like, because of when he landed and all of the effects of the Genesis device and everything, Spock is symbiotically linked to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So every time Spock feels pain, the planet starts to lose stability.
Yeah.
And so they realize that they have to get out of there somehow because Spock is about to lose it and this planet's about to blow.
Mm-hmm. So in the classic manner of pride coming before a fall, the Crudge beams down to the planet in order to face Kirk one last time. And he tells the crew to move to one side so that they can be beamed up to the Klingon ship. And Kirk is like, "Here, bring the Vulcan too. He needs to go up." And Crudge is like, "No." And Kirk is like, "Well, why not?" And Crudge says, "Because you wish it."
Then that was the line you've been waiting for all day.
And yes, that's basically my philosophy in life.
Yep.
So the crew is beamed up to the Klingon ship, and Crudge and Kirk battle it out. And Kirk ends up pushing Crudge over a cliff into some lava. And now he's dead.
He's dead, Jim.
So Kirk takes up the communicator, picks up Spock, and says, in Klingon, "Beam me up," basically. And now he's beamed up to the Klingon ship and points his phaser at the Klingon who is in command. Basically, they outnumber the Klingons now. So
Well, there's like just the one guy left, isn't there?
there's like 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah.
And so now they're in control of the Klingon ship.
Yeah.
And before the Genesis planet explodes, they kind of figure out the controls and then warp out of there.
Yep.
They go back to Vulcan, and they hold this ceremony where some woman, I don't know what you call her, but she performs this ceremony.
She's like the Klingon or the Vulcan high priestess, isn't she?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, she performs a ceremony where she puts her hand over Bones' head and puts her hand over Spock's head and transfers the Katra via USB or something like that.
Well, this time I think it was Firewire.
Yeah, well,
I think they were still using Firewire
because there's so much information in a Katra that you have to get it there quickly.
Man, this is a terrible conversation.
And then at the end, we see Spock putting on his white robe and kind of
With the Triforce on the back of it.
yes, and kind of feeling better, and he walks down the way, and then he stops, looks through all of the crew that was standing there in a line, and stops at Jim. And you can tell his memory is just sort of coming back. And he says, my father says that you were my friend.
And you came back for me.
Yeah. And it was just this kind of nice moment where Kirk or Spock says, why did you do that? And Kirk says, because the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. Which is very illogical, but nice. A very nice moment.
It brings it full circle.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then Spock starts to walk away, obviously thinking about what's gone on, and he turns back and says, "You are, and always have been, my friend." Which is a line we have heard iterated, 4 times in this movie?
Yeah.
Just one or twice in the last movie.
Twice in this movie, and then at the end of the last one. No, twice in the last one.
Twice in the last one, 4 times in this one.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's the whole movie. I mean, there's not a whole lot of substance to it, because this is like the in-betweener picture.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was, it was good. They for what we had, they did a really good job.
It was basically a go here, get that type of thing.
Yep.
With a little bit of Klingon in between. I originally thought, like, the first time I saw this movie was a while ago, and I obviously wasn't paying a whole lot of attention because I was a young guy who didn't really get it. But and so I coming into it today, I kind of assumed that the Klingons had a bigger part to play. Turns out they really didn't. I mean, he's just an obstacle to overcome.
He was just one guy.
Yeah. But it is important that, I didn't mention this during the summary, but the Klingons killed David at a moment where Kirk was just getting to know him. This is his son that he hasn't seen at all.
Yeah.
And now he's full grown, and he's just now getting to know him, and the Klingons kill him in his prime, which is important in the movies to come, obviously.
Right.
So, in one sense, it's not important for this movie, but it's important to set up the other movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which this whole movie has been sort of a lesson in whether or not a movie is good on its own or as part of a series. This particular movie is only good as part of the series.
Right. Whereas Wrath of Khan, you can kind of sit down and just watch it.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, because there's nothing prior, and it gives you a sense of closure at the end.
Yeah.
As far as the storyline goes.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to have it with anything else, as opposed to this, which is a continuation, which leads into the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the linker. Right.
And the next movie is it can be good on its own too. I mean, there's a little bit of information you might need to know, but it still stands on its own pretty well.
Yep.
So, and I think the same could be said for the rest of them too. But this one, yeah, it's only good if you know the rest, basically.
Yep.
Let's see. Is there anything else about this that's interesting? We've got Christopher Lloyd as the Klingon.
Yeah.
He's a great actor.
Always.
Savick. This is the first time I've seen Savick since the original series. Or I'm sorry, Sarek since the original series.
Since the original series, yep.
And he's gotten old.
Yep.
That's basically it. I mean, yeah.
Yep.
You got anything?
I think this is the only time in history anyone has ever missed Kirstie Alley.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah.
Savick has been switched to a new actress. Does she show up in any of the next movies?
I don't think so.
She must show up at least at the beginning of
At the beginning of
Voyage Home.
Voyage Home, but
I don't think other
I
than
think
that.
she stays behind.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I do like Kirstie Alley's portrayal of Savick was much more Vulcan, I believe, than this other chick. I don't even know her name.
Robin Curtis
I
is her
think
name.
It feels like she was just thrown into it.
She kind of was, yeah.
So, yeah.
She was a Knight Rider once.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's all we have to say about Search for Spock, I suppose.
Yep.
You can call us with your questions, your comments, anything you want to say about Star Trek. The hailing frequencies are open.
At 513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475.
And remember, this the month of October is going to be sort of a transitional period for us, personally and for the podcast. We will be doing The Undiscovered Country, the last of the original series movies, on October 4th, was it?
4th, yep.
And after that, we'll be taking the next 4 weeks off because Zach's got some school thing to
School
go
and
on.
work and all kinds of stuff.
I've got some work schedules to flip around, and then you've got your trip to Seattle or something.
Yep.
So we're just going to take the month off, and we will return
On November the 9th.
November the 9th. That's a Friday.
That's right.
From then on, we will be doing Star Trek Asterisk on Fridays.
And then what we'll do from that point is we'll have 2 weeks there. We'll get into next gen. Do 2 weeks of that. We'll have Thanksgiving break, so we'll have Thanksgiving that week off. Then we'll do another 3 weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
And then let me just double check that.
And Christmas break, basically.
Let's see, 1, 2.
We'll have a Thanksgiving break and a Christmas break.
4. We'll have 4 weeks, and then the week of Christmas, because Christmas is on a Tuesday, so we'll take that following Friday off.
Yeah.
And then once after the new year, the 4th, we hit the ground running and go for it again.
Hooray!
Woo!
So that's that.
Any old business?
Nope.
All right.
So until next time, remember to help control the tribble population.
Have your tribbles spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.